Hi, folks. Welcome to my second webinar in this series on investing in a website and measuring your website's performance. The kind of theme is putting your money to good use when it comes to the website you're looking to invest in, choosing a partner, making sure that your capital is well spent. A lot of that has to do with obviously the team that you're hiring, your approach to the project, and then making sure you have a way to measure the return on investment because you can, unless you're able to do that, you'll never know if the money you invested in a website has actually been put to good use. So, I come from I'm the CEO of 118 Group. We're a small web design agency, distributed team across the United States. We've launched hundreds of projects for A-list celebrities on one end, to Fortune 500 companies, to small nonprofits, to little cafes. We've literally done everything under the sun. So we have a large vault of knowledge when it comes to approaching these types of projects and these relationships. And so the theme of today is how to measure your website's performance. And this basically, as the CEO, I have a lot of conversations with clients, a lot of different accounts. And one of my conversations regularly is, what's your success metric for this? Or how is your website performing? Do you know how your website is performing? And it seems like most of the clients, most people, are at a certain stage of their kind of understanding of the web and their website, and they're not necessarily focused on analytics and outcomes and measurement. They're mostly focused on having a good looking website. And so I don't want to spend any more time with kind of the intro or the onboarding here. I just kind of want to get right into my presentation. I'm hoping to add a lot of value quickly and then get out so that you can kind of move on with your day. So I'm just going to bring up my presentation, how to measure your website's performance. That's me. 118 Group is the company. I'm the CEO of 118 Group. So real quick, high level, the high level 5-step, too long, didn't read, for measuring, where we're going to go here. 1, question your assumptions. 2, identify desired outcomes. 3, identify your KPIs. 4, review your website data. And 5, talk to your users. So that's kind of the order we're going to go in. And again, I want to keep this kind of fast paced. I know that I'm just trying to paint a high level picture, and not take up too much of your time. So number 1, question assumptions. A lot of conversations I have, these are some of the high level assumptions I see business owners or decision makers making that I don't think is useful. So 1, your website is new, it must be better. That's not necessarily true at all. We've seen bad old websites perform really well, and we've seen new redesigned websites perform less well. Again, you have to measure these things to know. You have a great design, your website is working for you. That's not necessarily true. Your website is old, it needs to be rebuilt. Again, you can't, that's a hunch, that's a heuristic, that's a thought, that's not necessarily a fact. Your design is bad, it must be hurting business. You spent a lot of money, it must be great. Your web team is doing it all. So all of these are basic assumptions that I see people making that aren't necessarily true. And the last one's really important because I think some people don't take enough ownership of their website. They kind of rely solely on their web team, and they kind of close their eyes and hope that everything is working and that their web team is going to drive their business development online. And that's a false assumption. You should take, if that's what you're doing, you're not contributing, you're not collaborating, and you're not going to get the results you need. So ownership is an important part of that conversation. But anyways, these are all assumptions that need to be tested and verified. Otherwise, if you're moving forward with any of these assumptions, you don't have an accurate view of reality. So this, I just think, is funny. If you guys have ever seen the if you've ever seen The Notebook, this is the scene where, he's asking her, what do you want? What do you want? That's a really important part of this conversation is, what do you want out of your website? The reason this is important is because everybody, different businesses and different industries have different desired outcomes for their website. You can have a number of different objectives. One, are you trying to drive donations? Well, how many? Are you trying to sell a product? Well, what are your sales goals? Are you looking to generate leads? Well, how many leads are you looking to generate? Are you looking to educate people? Who are you looking to educate people, and how are you looking to educate them? Are you looking to just grow your audience and brand awareness? Well, by how much? You see, these are all different outcomes that different businesses and different industries might have, whether it's nonprofits, e-commerce, membership-based, lead gen. They all have different desired outcomes. What's important is to identify what that is and then also measure what the desired outcome is. The best goals are those that are actually specific and measurable. So what do you want out of your website? So we covered question your assumptions, identify your desired outcomes. 3, this is what are your KPIs, identifying what your key performance indicators are, because that's how you're going to take that desired outcome that you've defined and measure how close you're getting to, you're getting to reaching it. So there are a few general KPIs that I think are relevant to any website that matter. What is your organic search traffic? How many people are finding you just organically through keyword searches on Google or other search engines? This is always important. No matter what you're doing, you want people to be finding you organically. It just means you're visible online. What's your bounce rate? That no matter what you do, you don't want people landing and leaving. So that's a general KPI that you want to, you kind of want to start to think about and track. What are your pages per session? That indicates discovery, and that indicates that people are digging into your material and they're navigating through your site. Sometimes you don't want people to have many pages per session because you want them to get direct answers and get out. But most of the time, you want time on the site, because it's a KPI that measures, that kind of reflects engagement. And then new users, in my opinion, you always want to be appealing to new users. No matter what you're doing, you want to grow your audience. So these are a few general KPIs that are not industry specific, that apply across the board to many different users, to many different businesses. So the general KPIs, and then there's kind of at a high level, I just wanted to show that there can be some mission specific KPIs. So these are KPIs that are specific to the outcomes people are trying to achieve. So if you're a nonprofit, you want to look at returning users, donation and contact conversions. So returning users, to me, a nonprofit is providing a service. Returning users means that your clients are coming back to you for information or to engage in other services that you're offering. So the returning users is really important. Obviously, donation and contact conversions, that's really relevant. If you're a local service business, you want to know how many people are seeing your service pages specifically, and which service pages are getting more visibility, because that kind of shows you what gets better interest in terms of what you're offering. Contact conversions, you definitely want to see, how often people are actually submitting contact forms to, get information further, take a step in that customer journey to engage you for your services. And then Google Business Profile, that's that little window that appears on the right if you Google search your name, that has like your map, your address, your phone, your reviews, your posts, some pictures. You want to be, that's really key for a local service business. You want to be seeing, the trend you want to see is more traffic, more views of that business profile over time, and actions. You want to see people, clicking the call, clicking the website. You want to see people engaging with that. So that's what you would want to track at that level. That's what would be a really important KPI for that specific, the local service business versus the nonprofit. The next thing you want to think about after you've kind of so again, we've questioned our assumptions. So now we're in the lens of, all right, well, I don't know how my website is performing is ultimately what that comes down to. What do I want it to do, and how much of it do I want it to do? And then, that's step two. Step three is, okay, well, what are the data points I need to consider that would help me understand if it's doing this thing and how much it's doing it by. So that now it's like, okay, well, what's the evidence? What would evidence look like of success here? What are those metrics? That's the KPIs we've identified. So now that we know the KPIs we want to consider, now it's just time to review the web data. And so you probably should have Google Analytics installed on your website, or some sort of analytics tool that gives you, the KPIs you're looking for. Google Analytics is the most popular web analytics platform. Make sure this is installed and configured on your site, and commit to either learning the tool or hiring someone who knows it. Ignorance is not bliss, So, we have some clients who kind of, most people log into Google Analytics, and it's just got a lot going on. It's kind of trying to simplify and make itself easier to use with these new versions. But at the end of the day, it's just a lot of data, charts, graphs, stats. And I think people as a whole are kind of shy or afraid of those kinds of visuals and that kind of presentation of information, which I get. But that is how you're measuring, your website, which is the center, the hub of your marketing efforts, and your marketing is, core to your business success. So to ignore, it's like your doctor coming to, you have a problem and you're going to your doctor, and they just decide, we're not going to take any of your vitals. We're not going to use any sort of, we won't measure anything, no CAT scans, no blood tests, no nothing. Let's just work on a rule of thumb. We have some high level heuristics we're going to use. That's not the outcome. That's not how you want to roll if you're going to your doctor. That's not how you want to roll when you're looking at your investments online. So either spend time learning it or hire someone who knows it. You can easily Google search for Google Analytics experts, freelancer. You'll end up on Fiverr or Upwork. You can find a web team like mine who has Google Analytics experience, who can do audits and configurations of those profiles. Do not ignore it. Do not just shove it under the rug. Even if you're doing well right now, you're missing opportunities. So ignorance is not bliss. Google Analytics, either learn it or hire someone who knows it. Organic search. This is one of the other key data pools that you want to get access to. So you want to know how your site is performing in terms of organic search. And so you want to look at a tool like maybe Google Search Console, which will tell you what keywords people used to find your site. And that's really useful because it gives you a sense of like what people are looking for, if you're actually being ranked for the things you want to be ranked for, you think you should be ranked for. There's a lot of really good data there. And obviously, organic search is how a lot of local businesses, make ends meet. So it's critical that you have access to that data. So Search Console, Google Search Console would be a good place to start for that. The bounce rate that we talked about, this is just the percentage of users that leave a web page without taking action. Again, so organic search, this is data that you can find in Google Analytics as well. So you just want to see ultimately that more, the percentage of your users who are finding you or visiting you, the number of users who are visiting your site through organic search, through typing in something into Google like web design, Boston, or web design Cambridge, you want to see that number going up. You don't want to see that number going down. So that's like a kind of a high level trend you want to keep track of. Your bounce rate, you want to ultimately see that going down, or you don't want to see that above 85%, ideally not even above 80%. High bounce rates are inevitable with like 1 trillion websites and 5-second attention spans nowadays, but you still, ultimately you want to trend downwards. And if you have a high bounce rate, you want to think, okay, well, what are some things we can try and do to lower that bounce rate? Changing visuals on our homepage, maybe a video on page load, or an ebook or a download. There's all sorts of things you can try and do and test and see if you can drive that bounce rate down. through experimentation, but you can't really experiment until you have a benchmark or a baseline. So it's important to kind of understand where you're at. New users, like we mentioned before, you want to see more new users visiting your site than less over time. It just means you're growing your audience. Again, so those are the high level general KPIs that we talked about. And all of that can be found in Google Analytics. And like I said, if you don't know it, learn it or hire someone who does. They can get all of this information for you. But mostly at this stage, I just want you thinking about, questioned assumptions, defining success, understanding your evidence, your metrics for evidence, your KPIs, and getting Google Analytics set up and starting to collect the data that you're going to want to analyze if you're not collecting it at this point. The next, easier, arguably maybe harder actually, way to start to understand your website's performance is to interview your users, which is something people spend a lot of time just with the data. But we need to talk to people because people are how we know what we're doing. People are rich, are a rich data source, right? Like everything, there's all Google Analytics has, numbers, metrics galore, but like speaking to your user, they can give you a lot of information about how you're presenting yourself, how they found the information they needed, what you could do differently, what you could do better. They're just a treasure trove of data. So one thing you can do is go through your contact form submissions on your website. You have their name, you have their email, you have their phone number. Reach out to them. Hey, offer a $10 gift card to who knows what, Amazon, whatever else. Offer to plant a tree if they give you feedback. Get in touch with the people who have used or may use your website. And ask them about their first impressions. Ask them how they completed your desired actions. Like, how did you get to the contact form? What pages did you go through? What did you think about the navigation? What did you think about the structure of the site? You can get a lot of really good data from people that way without having to kind of parse through millions of data points through Google Analytics. So again, you have access to people who have used your site through your contact form. Give them an incentive, something small, whether, like I said, it's money or it's, social proof or it's planting a tree or whatever else. Offer something and just have a conversation, schedule a call, have a conversation, pull the website up, talk through it. Really good way to get some really valuable information. So questions, I guess at this point, you can always email me, Dylan at 118 Group. Again, I try and keep this very quick. But back to the beginning in terms of the process here. So question your assumptions. Don't just assume that because you spent a lot of money on a website or because your website is new or because your website is old, that it's either doing well or doing poorly. You have to, only data will tell you what's actually going on. So one, question your assumptions. Two, think more about what you want your website to do. You don't just want your website to be pretty, right? You don't want your website to just look nice, right? Like that doesn't pay light. That doesn't, keep the overhead going. That doesn't grow your company. It doesn't provide scale. That doesn't open up new opportunities. Identify what you actually want your website to be doing. Identify how you would measure that success using data and user interviews. Review the website data, talk to your users, and then you walk away with a better understanding of your actual website's performance over time. So that's kind of the high level. I really appreciate you guys joining me today. If you have any questions, like I said, you can email me at dylan@118group.com and I'd be happy to walk you through. I'd be happy to, schedule a time and we can talk directly about how you would go about understanding your website's performance. So thank you very much. Have a wonderful day.